Hi, welcome to Knits Up. I'm Mindy, your podcast host, and you can find show notes at knitsup.libsyn.com if I do post any. I am on Ravelry as Knitter CNY, that's for Central New York. I'm from the Syracuse area, and you can find projects pages for things I'm going to describe. I'm going to try and do a weekly update for the time being because I think it's easier to catch up with somebody by listening at this point rather than me trying to podcast and show you something that is probably going to look the same as it did the week before. Just to let you know what my situation is, I live in Syracuse. I work as a secretary at an environmental lab. We test soil and water. We're still doing that. We're still open. We're still, making sure the water's safe, making sure wastewater is treated properly, that sort of thing. So I am going to work for the foreseeable future. It's not a position where I can telecommute. It's actually a good space to be because we already tend to have very good personal hygiene because it's a laboratory. People wear gloves when they work. They wash their hands when they leave their workstation or the bench. They wash their hands before and after they eat. They wash their hands if they come back from someplace. It's just what you do. So I'm pretty confident in my work area being a good and safe place to be. I am pretty well prepared. I've been preparing for a couple of weeks. I used the pantry principle, which is what my parents used to shop like when my mother was still alive and my dad was still living home. They would buy enough food and supplies for at least a month. That's what I've done, or at least tried to do. I don't know how successful I've been, but I've tried. I have the staples like rice, canned goods, canned chicken, canned tuna fish, bread in my freezer, and, powdered milk, that sort of thing. Things that can be made easily. I have a gas stove. I have things that are going to be okay for this type of thing if you get quarantined. I have cleaning supplies. I've laid those in. I have medications in case I get quarantined. Thermometer, a flashlight, a first aid kit. Simple things like that. My dad is in a nursing home. He lives probably about 4 miles away from me. Earlier this week, on Thursday, the nursing home social worker called me and said all visits for the foreseeable future are canceled. So, you're going to say, well, what are you doing? Well, luckily, my dad's nursing home has free internet, and it's free wireless internet. So what we had done over the summer, my dad's been there for 5 years now, and what we did over the summer actually, or maybe even last year, I forget when they went on sale, I bought a little Echo Dot, and I have a large Echo at my house, and I also have the Alexa app on my phone. So what I can do is I registered that Dot in my name. So all of the contacts that are on my phone, my dad is able to call. He's able to call me if he has a problem. He's able to call his brothers and sisters who are still living. He's able to call his physician if he needs her. He's able to call the social worker for the facility that he's in. And it's a very good facility. I've never had any issues with his care, so I'm very confident in the staff that's there, even though I'm not physically able to see him every day. And we kind of knew this was coming, but now that proclamation of no visits to nursing homes is now a nationwide proclamation as of Friday. So, if any of you are in kind of the same boat and you have a loved one that doesn't have a lot of technology, or needs to keep track of a cell phone and that sort of thing, the Echo Dot might be a solution for you if they have internet access. For my dad, it was necessary because he has glaucoma so badly he can't see to operate a cell phone. It's also really good because it enables him to listen to music, to get news updates, to set timers for things, to know what time it is, to know what the weather is outside, to know what the date is. Things that we take for granted of, okay, he can't see a calendar, okay, he doesn't know, but he's keeping up with what's going on with the outside world. The other thing that my dad has that's really good for him is a talking book machine, and you can either download things and put them on a memory stick, and he has those, or you can actually order a special. It almost looks like a cassette tape, but it's not. It's like a little memory drive, basically, that goes into the machine. So my dad is able to listen to audiobooks that way. So he will keep himself entertained. He's already been doing that sort of thing. So I guess from what I'm hearing in the press, they were stopping the communal dining. I don't know if that's true for his facility or not. Depends on what's going on. I think they're trying to keep life as normal as they can for people, but it's difficult sometimes. I think they'll be okay. But I feel very confident in the staff where he is. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to keep a positive attitude, but it is what it is. Everybody's in the same boat. We're all going to have to adjust, and we will make it through this. But anyways, you didn't come here for all the, oh my gosh, what's her dad doing in a nursing home conversation. You came here for the knitting. So I will start by describing what my knitting and crochet are going to look like. At the beginning of the year, actually last summer, I decided I was going to document my stash. And it was the oddest thing because I took pictures of everything. I uploaded them to Instagram. And then from there, I put them on Ravelry so that I would know what I had in my stash in case I wanted to make something. So since then, I've bought a few skeins of yarn here and there, including enough to make a blanket, but I bought everything on sale. I haven't gone hog wild because I have enough yarn to work through the apocalypse. It was always a joke that we were going to have yarn to work through the apocalypse. It's not an apocalypse. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna make it through this. But I have yarn, so that helps. What I've been doing lately is making hats for Lion Brand's Hat Not Hate campaign. That'll still go on in the fall, but you have to get those in by August 31st. Hopefully most of this will have calmed down by then. So, so we'll send them in then. I'm not sending anything in right at the moment because I think they've got enough to worry about without getting inundated with packages right at the moment. I know that deadline is there, so I can plan for a couple months down the road, sending a large package of washed and sanitized hats. Laundry sanitizer is my friend at that point. So I am also working on a crocheted sweater for myself. Actually, let me describe the Hat Not Hate yarn that I've used so far. Okay, so far I've knit one hat out of Ferris Wheel, which is a really nice roving style number 4 yarn. I used Full Moon, which is shades of blue. It's very lovely. It's very soft. Very nice yarn to work with. I wanted something quicker, so I had bought a skein of Lion Brand Thick and Quick in I believe it's the Astroland colorway. And it's a dark navy blue. It has like a pops of color that sort of stripe through it in other different colors. It looks really pretty. It made a really super quick hat. I was able to use size 13 needles for that. Now I have another hat on the needles, or on a circular needle, that's the other half of the Ferris Wheel cake in Full Moon. So I'm getting 2 hats out of that. And then the third yarn that I will be doing is Mandala Ombre, and there's a blue color in that. I think it's called Healing, if I remember correctly. Hang on a second. Gotta check that out as I get up and reach over for this. Sorry, it's called Harmony, actually. Harmony, which is just fine. I think I can get a couple hats, at least 1 or 2 hats out of that as well. The Mandala Ombre is a number 4 worsted, and these are like colors of stonewashed jeans, is like all I can compare it to. Looks really nice. And then the other day when I was at Joann's, or was I at Joann's? No, sorry, I was at AC Moore the other day. The AC Moores are closing, and they had put yarn 50% off. So I got a skein of ZZ Twist in a bright blue color. I think that's a number 3 yarn. I'm not sure what the color is, but you'd recognize it as a very bright blue. So I will be making a hat or 2 out of that as well. I'm choosing to use Lion Brand yarns, but you do not have to use Lion Brand yarns for this Hat Not Hate campaign. You can use any yarn. They do have some suggested patterns, and they also have some suggested head circumferences that the hat should fit. To check that mine was going to fit, I laid it down, measured across, and then multiplied by 2 in order to know the circumference. Although you can know the circumference by using pi, which is kind of funny because today is Pi Day. It's 314 because pi is 3.14 infinity ad nauseum numbers that follow 3.14. My uncle's is a retired math professor, and he loves Pi Day. So have some pizza or a piece of pie if you can get it. I am kind of excited. Also, I am working on a Colorscape shawl. The yarn I'm using, is called Colorscape. It's a red heart yarn that's a color changing yarn. The actual pattern is called Cityscape shawl. I've printed out that pattern. I'm on the decrease part. It's a very shallow garter stitch shawl / scarf. It's more long than it is tall, and it's just one of those things that I like to see the way the colors change, so I like that yarn. The crocheted cardigan I'm working on is the Delaney cardigan from Blueprint / Craftsy for class that I own, called the Easy Crochet Cardigan. They are, I printed the class materials, and it comes in a large variety of sizes. I'm about a 3 or 4X, and that pattern goes up and fits me. It's very simple. It's half double crochet and some increases, some decreases. And I think there's some short row shaping for the shoulders. I've gotten the back done. I've been working on the front a little bit. I haven't worked on it as much as I would like, because my modus operandi right now is to do small projects. I'm also working on a second sock for a set of 2 socks that I'm working on out of some mill ends from Canada that I bought a couple of years ago. We have, I went to the Spin Right Factory outlet a couple of years ago for my birthday celebration at the end of May. And actually, I drove to Canada to buy yarn, is really what it was. And I bought yarn, and I went to Niagara Falls, because I hadn't been to Niagara Falls since I had been in college, which was at least 25, 26 years ago. So these mill ends I actually bought at Lens Mills in Cambridge in Ontario. And it was, sorry, no, I bought other stuff at Lens Mills. I bought the mill ends at Cambridge Fibers in Cambridge, Ontario. Lens Mills and Cambridge Fibers are right next to each other. They're in, you would not look for this place, really. I mean, I was looking for it because I was going to buy yarn, but I went in and they had yarn, so I bought yarn. Cambridge Fibers, I also got mill ends. I think it's Red Heart, neon, rainbow stripey kind of things. It's like the rainbow colorway with the black in between. They're that Red Heart Super Saver kind of thing. Somehow I ended up with bags of that. I really don't. I thought I was going to make a rainbow sweater for my goddaughter out of it at the time, and it just didn't. We picked a different yarn for it. We picked mostly Bernat Pop and Caron Cakes to make her sweaters. I ended up making 2, which is fine. And so I have a lot of stuff, but this particular mill end is Mexicali Stripes, Peyton's Croy, however you want to say it, and I'm using Hiya Sharps double pointed needles, 2.25 millimeter, US size 1. And it's a 64 stitch sock that starts at the cuff, goes down. I use a heel, a flat heel flap, and turn and gussets, and then just a wedge toe. It's probably the first sock pattern I ever learned. I can knit socks from the toe up. Somehow I seem to prefer the cuff down, because after this many pairs of socks, I kind of know how long I want the leg to be, how long I want the foot to be, the depth of the heel flap, all of that. I seem to know that because I've made probably about 12 or 14 pairs of socks, maybe more than that. Most of them were for me. I think I made a couple pairs for an aunt of mine who actually requested them, and then she said, I wore a hole in them. I tried to darn them. I said, I can make you new socks. Don't worry about it. And I made my dad a pair. He wore them like when he was still working in the winter, he would put them on because they were so warm that it was really nice for him. So that's about all that I've really been working on. I can tell you that the other night I was working on a hat, and it was 2 days ago that the Thursday night the Philadelphia Orchestra put on a concert to an empty hall, and they did Facebook Live for it, and I was almost in tears. It was so great. And now I hear that the Metropolitan Opera will be starting nightly video casts of the operas that they've done over the past 14 years. It'll be at 7:30 each night, and it'll be on there. They have an app that has like an open session studio kind of a thing, and they're recordings that have been made in the past, so that if you want to watch an opera while you're, at home in the evening, you can watch a nice opera. I am partial to it. Not many people. Some people are, some people aren't. It depends on, what is going on. I actually have a family member, both the family member and his wife are opera singers. They're not with the Met, but they're making their living as opera singers and also have private students. They're fabulous. I wasn't really into opera as a kid or a teenager, but when you hear someone who can just sing and it like rings like a bell is the only way I can describe it. It makes a big impact. Something live or even something recorded that was live. Music can only be made in a moment. Music can be experienced later, but music can be made in a moment. And the silence and the sound penetrate my soul. I don't know how to explain it other than that. I played French horn in high school. I sang in high school and I sang in college. I played in marching band when I was in high school as well. All of these experiences are different things. I have friends who are music teachers. They've directed musicals. They've taught kids how to play band instruments. They've directed choruses. I think music is something that can lift your spirits. It can distract you. It can bring you someplace else emotionally than where you are right at that moment. Or it can make you be in that moment in a more meaningful way. So, I'm sorry if I sound silly. I'm sorry if I sound, I may make no sense to anybody else. But having been on both sides, as both an audience member and a musician, you can do this. It's important to let yourself have that time to listen to something without having to worry about something else. Give yourself space and time to just be in that moment, at that moment. And that's my dryer with its musical cue telling me that its dryer load is now done, which is kind of funny. So I'm going to end the podcast here. If you have any questions, like I said, please post over on Ravelry. If you have any podcasts that you would love to recommend to other people that are helping you through this time, or you listen to on a regular basis or watch on a regular basis, please feel free to post. And I hope that you guys, this finds you well, healthy, and getting better, which is all we can hope for at this point. You guys have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.